If you're looking for non-stop action, this list is for you. These 15 Netflix movies are packed with brutal fights, huge explosions, and fast-paced stories that get straight to the point. Make sure to stay for number 1 because it is a film that cost $15 million, took 2 years to shoot, and is still considered one of the greatest crime action films in cinema history. And if you want more action picks like this, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Era un'altra persona. Non una bella persona.
Kicking things off at number 15, My Name is Vendetta, and this Italian Netflix original is exactly the kind of lean, fast, gloriously committed action thriller that gets dismissed because of its premise: retired mafia enforcer, past catches up, revenge, and then surprises you with how well it executes that premise. Director Cosimo Gomez shot this across the Alps and Milan, with Alessandro Gassman as Santo, a former 'Ndrangheta operative living in hiding with his family, whose carefully constructed quiet life is shattered when old enemies locate him. His teenage daughter Sofia is the character the film actually builds itself around. Remo Girone plays the patriarch of the crime family hunting them. The action is practical, brutal, and unglamorous in exactly the right way. It runs 90 minutes and wastes none of them. A film this specific and this committed to its own logic deserves a bigger audience than it has. At number 14, Psychokinesis. Yeon Sang-ho, the director of Train to Busan, made the film as a genuinely warm and funny and inventive superhero film. Shin Seok-hyun, a bumbling bank security guard who accidentally develops telekinetic powers after drinking water from a mountain spring affected by a meteor strike. He then attempts to use those powers to reconnect with his estranged daughter, while she fights to save her fried chicken restaurant from a mob-backed construction company. The result is unlike anything in the Western superhero tradition: smaller, more human, more concerned with a father and daughter than with saving the world.
Quelle tristesse. Je te laisse une dernière chance pour...
At number 13, Vitam. This French Netflix original is the kind of relentless, no-nonsense action thriller that the platform drops in January, and most people scroll past, which is a mistake. Director Rodolphe Lauga built this around Frank, a former member of France's elite GIGN tactical unit, who was recently dismissed from duty following a tragedy under his command. When violent masked men attack him and his pregnant wife Leo in their home, Frank is left with nothing but a manhunt and a past he thought he'd buried. Nassim Layes, who you may recognize from Mayhem also on this list, rounds out the central cast. The GIGN framework gives the action a technical credibility that most genre films can't match. It hit number 1 on Netflix's non-English chart the week it dropped. Critics were divided. Audiences who found it were not. At number 12, Below Zero. And this Spanish Netflix original was watched by 47 million accounts in its first 4 weeks, making it one of the most watched international films in the platform's history at the time. And somehow, most people still haven't heard of it. Director Luis Quiles takes a premise of almost unbearable simplicity: a prison transport van on a remote, icy road at night, a violent ambush, and a rookie cop named Martin, now trapped with a van full of dangerous prisoners and threats converging from both inside and outside. The claustrophobia is suffocating. The cold is a character. The film uses its one location, one night framework to build a specific kind of dread that expands rather than contracts as it goes.
Får jag förhöra honom?
Du ska inte förhöra honom.
At number 11, Trouble. And this Swedish action comedy is the most purely entertaining film on this part of the list. A remake of the 1988 Swedish cult film Stroll, updated by director John Holmberg with a cast that fully commits to its gloriously chaotic premise. Philip Berg plays Connie, a down-on-his-luck electronics salesman who is in the wrong place at the wrong time during a murder, gets wrongfully convicted, and ends up in prison where he falls in with 2 very experienced criminals, with a very ambitious escape plan. What follows involves airports, helicopters, corrupt police, and more bad luck per minute than most action films manage in 2 hours. It hit Netflix on 2024, ranked in the top 10 in multiple countries, and then disappeared from the conversation almost immediately.
Figured it wouldn't kill me.
At number 10, Polar. Director Jonas Åkerlund, a veteran music video director who also made Lords of Chaos, built this Netflix original around a graphic novel aesthetic that is deliberately heightened, deliberately excessive, and deliberately unlike anything else in the action catalog. Mads Mikkelsen plays Duncan Wiesla, known as the Black Kaiser, the world's most lethal assassin, 2 weeks from retirement, with an $8 million pension that his employer has decided is too expensive to pay. What follows is exactly what you expect from that premise, and simultaneously more inventive than you're ready for. Mikkelsen is extraordinary in a role that requires him to do everything with restraint while everything around him goes completely unhinged. At number 9, Humint. Zo In-sung plays manager Zo, a South Korean National Intelligence Service agent stationed near the Russian border investigating an international crime syndicate. Park Jong-min plays a North Korean state security officer whose investigation runs in parallel, and whose path collides with Zo's. The action sequences are exactly what you'd expect from Ryo, technically precise, physically brutal, and anchored in character rather than spectacle. One sustained 30-minute action sequence has already been singled out by critics as one of the most impressive set pieces of the year. It's on Netflix globally right now. Don't sleep on it.
You feeling it?
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
At number 8, Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Director Christian Gudegast brought Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr. to Europe for a follow-up, inspired by the real-world Antwerp diamond heist and the Panther Mafia, a genuine criminal organization responsible for some of the most audacious jewelry thefts in history. Butler returns as Big Nick, a lawman as morally complicated as anyone he chases. Jackson Jr. returns as Donnie, whose path through the European criminal underworld puts him directly in Nick's crosshairs. The film is substantially more patient and character-focused than its marketing suggested. Critics who expected pure action found themselves surprised by how much it earns its 144-minute runtime. At number 7, Mayhem. And director Xavier Gens, who made Frontier and Cold Skin, built this French-Thai action film around Nassim Lias, a former professional kickboxing champion who is also a genuinely gifted screen presence. Lias plays Sam, an ex-con who has rebuilt a quiet life in Thailand until the past arrives at his door and refuses to leave. What follows is one of the most physically committed action films on Netflix. The fight choreography is raw, close quarters, and constantly inventive, with a bone-crunching authenticity that comes from having a real fighter in the lead role. Gens, who spent his career making difficult genre films, found a mainstream audience with this one when Netflix released it globally in 2024. It became one of the platform's most watched non-English films. The sequel is already in production. At number 6, Uprising. And this South Korean historical epic is the most visually spectacular film on this list, produced and co-written by Park Chan-wook, the director of Oldboy and Decision to Leave, and directed by Kim Sang-mon. Set in the Joseon dynasty during the Japanese invasions of the late 16th century, the film follows two childhood friends, one a slave with extraordinary martial skills, played by Gang Dong-won, and one the son of the most powerful military family in Korea, played by Park Jong-min, who end up on opposite sides of a conflict that neither of them chose. The sword fight choreography is extraordinary, some of the most elegant and brutal blade work in any Korean film in years.
It was so sad.
Hold kjeft! 2 millioner hvis du blåser huet av henne her og nå.
At number 5, The Trip. Tommy Wirkola went back to Norway and made one of the most entertainingly unhinged dark comedies of the decade. Numi Rapace and Axel Henny play Lisa and Lars, a deeply miserable married couple who head to their remote cabin for the weekend, each with a secret plan to murder the other. Before either of them can execute their plan, unexpected visitors arrive at the cabin and the whole situation becomes something neither of them bargained for. The film is violent, very funny, and completely unpredictable in how it escalates. Ricola builds it in the tradition of Tarantino and Martin McDonagh. Dark as anything but with a momentum that makes you laugh even as you wince.
You need to learn to handle your acid.
You want to save Israel?
At number 4, The Angel, and this is the most underrated true story on Netflix, and one that most people don't know happened. Marwan Kenzari plays Ashraf Marwan, the son-in-law of Egyptian President Nasser, and later one of Israeli intelligence's most valuable assets of the 20th century. Toby Kebbell plays his Mossad handler. The film is set against the real backdrop of the lead-up to the 1973 Yom Kippur War, in a world where Marwan is simultaneously navigating the highest levels of Egyptian power and one of history's most dangerous double lives. What Marwan was truly trying to achieve, and at what cost, is the question the film circles without ever making easy. Kenzari is magnetic throughout. At number 3, Steel Rain. Director Yang Woo-seok adapted his own webtoon with Jung Woo-sung as Aeom Chul-woo, a North Korean special forces agent who finds himself on the wrong side of the border during a coup, carrying an unconscious and critically injured figure he cannot hand over to either side. Kwak Do-won plays a South Korean presidential security official who becomes his reluctant ally. The two men, butts from opposite sides of one of the world's most entrenched conflicts, must work together to prevent a nuclear war neither of them wanted. What the two men must navigate together, and what that costs both of them, is the film's real engine. It earned $30 million at the Korean box office. It has been on Netflix for years. Almost nobody in the West has seen it. At number 2, The Pig, The Snake, and The Pigeon. And this Taiwanese film is the most original, most entertaining, and most purely alive action movie on this entire list. Director Wang Ching-po built this around a premise so simple and so perfect it's remarkable nobody thought of it before. Chen Kui-lin is a notorious hitman who receives a terminal diagnosis and then discovers he is only the third most wanted criminal in Taiwan, which means before he dies, there are 2 people ahead of him. What follows is dark, funny, genuinely strange in the best possible way, and contains action sequences that escalate with a creativity and a commitment impossible to look away from. It received 7 Golden Horse Award nominations, including Best Film. It became the second biggest Taiwanese film of all time in China.
You think these guys are scoring more than passing through? I doubt it.
A relentless police detective.
And at number 1, Heat. And if you know this film, you already know why it's here. And if you don't, this is the most important entry on this entire list. Michael Mann spent years researching the real criminal world of Los Angeles before making this film, and every single scene carries that weight. Al Pacino plays Vincent Hanna, a LAPD detective who has built his entire life around catching one kind of man. Robert De Niro plays Neil McCauley, a professional criminal who has built his entire life around never letting anyone close enough to slow him down. The two men are mirror images of each other, defined entirely by their obsessions, unable to stop even when the cost becomes impossible. The downtown LA bank robbery and shootout is still the greatest action sequence ever filmed in an urban environment. Heat is not just a great action film, it is one of the greatest films ever made.